Hey, I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of the AWM NFL Podcast. My name is Riccardo Stewart. I have the opportunity of being your host, and even more so, I got the opportunity of being joined with my friends and coworkers, Sam Ocho, Zach Miller, and Jeff Locke. We've been talking about building multi-generational wealth. And in essence, what we're talking about is how do we pass your money on to not only the second, but the third generation? And as NFL players who are ultra high net worth earners, this is something you should be able to do, but you need to have skill set. And the 5 skills we said is human capital. That's investing in yourself, being all you could be. The taxes. We're going to talk later about being an athlete CEO. And then what does it look like to give your dollars a job? But today, one of the 5 skill sets we're going to talk about, it's kind of the fun part, right? We talked about taxes on the last episode. Not a whole lot of fun. No one likes paying taxes, but the cash flow game, okay? You've all heard it said, more money, more problems. And what we would say is, it's not necessarily more money, more problems. It's more money, more complexity. And when you have more complexity, it necessitates clarity. And so we need some clarity around what happens when I get all of the cash that I had and how should I spend it? And so again, start with the professor. The professor himself looks like he got a quarter zip on. And he's very, very, very financial advisor right now. So let's start. We'll start with Jeff. And what I want to ask you is, essentially, we say we like to align our clients, their priorities, and then take their wealth and align it to it. And so when you align, we're basically saying your priorities. And when you have the wealth and you align it, that's how you begin to spend your money. And that money in itself is just cool, pay for the things you want and you desire and bless the people and the places that you love. Okay, what does that actually look like? And what does that actually mean?
So the first thing I'll touch on is priority, right? Priority means you have to place certain things over others. Some things take priority over other things. So one thing we almost never do with our clients, you'll never hear from us, is the B word, budgeting. Nobody wants to budget, right? It's like there are some clients. We have a couple clients that they actually love budgeting. They'll send us a spreadsheet every month. We're like, okay, cool, this is great. But most clients, no chance we're going to budget. So the way to frame it is trade-offs and priorities. So an example here is a young NFL client, right? And we're at that point where a second contract looks pretty likely. All right, we got possible money coming down the pipe. Things are looking good. I'm playing well in year 3. And it's like, all right, maybe it's time to upgrade my car. My thing is sitting in the player lot and it just ain't looking good next to all my other buddies in the lot. But I've talked with my team and I know education for me and my family is way more important than the car in my list of priorities that I built out. So that's what we are thinking, right? Is like us being the check and talking about cash flow. What do we want to do right now? Do we want to fund a 529 account and save for my kids' education in the future, fully pay for their college with my cash flow right now, 20 years from now? Or do I really want to do the G-Wagon right now and not wait until year 5 when I've got more cash flow coming up?
Easier said
Yes.
than done.
Yes.
However, I had a teammate in college, few years younger than me, went on to be a really good college football player, got drafted into the NFL to my Oakland Raiders. And I was excited, right? This teammate of mine was none other than the truth himself, Zach. And now I see Zach 40 years after his career. I mean, something like that. And
Wow. I mean, my birthday's coming up.
and I see Zach and I'm going, wait, he did that. And so I'm going to ask Zach the non-financial, the non-easy, more philosophical question is, how do you know enough is enough when it comes to, how do you know I have enough money?
An absolute tough question, but the most personal question and I mean, really individual to each individual is what is enough. Because I mean, I thought a certain amount was enough when I was, in high school. And then I go to college and I'm going to get drafted. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, if I just make this much in the NFL, that's enough. And then you get to the NFL and you buy nice things. And then you say, okay, well, actually, maybe this is enough. Maybe that second contract making this much money. Now that's enough. So to be able to actually know what enough is, you have to understand your needs, wants, and wishes.
Boom.
And really, really, it's one of the hardest things we do is walk our clients through understanding, like, what do you want more, or what's a wish versus a want versus a need. The needs, that's simple. We got to take care of those, protect, essentially put that offensive line in place so that if anything bad happens, that money you absolutely need in the short term, and for, food, clothing, shelter, the bare minimums, that's protected at all costs. And then figuring out kind of what's a want and what's a wish. How much, and I had to do this for myself, is like, how important is my kids' education? How much do I want to fund college for them, fund private school for them? Those things, think through those things. And then how important is having the best car in the parking lot, or the nicest car, or a boat, or all of these things that are cool things to buy. You got to kind of rank them. And that, when we work through this, it helps people understand first, like, how much can my assets, all the things I've accumulated from all that savings that you talked about, how much money do I have? How much is invested? And what can I expect from that money? So if you just look at all your investment assets and just do 3% of it, that's a pretty safe number to be substantially produced by your assets on an annual basis. So that gives you a framework to think like, okay, if I'm spending a few $100,000 a year, how much do I need to have in my investment account to be able to support that? And then the longer you play, obviously that number is going to go up. The more you make, bigger contracts you sign. But at some point, I mean, you can do the private jet thing. You can buy the $1 million supercars, all those things. There's always more money to spend. America is undefeated at helping people spend their money and consumerism. So it helps to work with someone that can help you put those kind of, how much is enough for me? How much do I need to go out there, and what kind of contract do I need to sign to set my family up for multi-generational wealth with all of these things built out in the plan? And there is a number to be able to do that. And so I'm at a point where I'm comfortable that I have more than enough, and I'm able to give, I'm able to set up future generations, while still being able to spend, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because of a diversified investment strategy that mitigates taxes and all of those things that you look for when you're actually working with a family office.
So this skill set of developing the cash flow game, like, it really is a game, and it really is a skill set. And we're talking, one, there's spending, which we just talked about, but on the other side of that coin is actually giving or sharing with the money I have. And Sam, I'm gonna have you talk about that. Like, what does it look like as an NFL vet to be able to look at the money that you've been blessed with, and now not only spend it as a tool, but also give it and bless others in communities and so forth? What does that look like?
First thing that comes to mind is the fact that we say that giving unlocks the grips of greed. One thing, when you, as you all know, you're in NFL locker rooms, right? You've played for a year or 10 or 15 or 20. So you get it, where it's like, man, you think you get all this money, you think it's going to bring you joy and happiness and satisfaction, when in reality, it oftentimes doesn't. And there's actually research out there that says that happiest people are the ones that give the most. And so there's this symbiotic relationship between giving and joy. So you want to be happier and have more joy. Like, studies have actually shown that happens. There's a correlation with giving and feeling better about yourself. And so we talk about giving, unlocking the grips of greed. And the second thing that I think about as well is this fact that when you get more, like, it doesn't have to change you. It actually could magnify who you already are. So I remember when I was coming in the NFL, there was a guy who said, people tell me, hey, don't change. Don't let the money change you. Don't let the fame change you. I said, how do I know if it's going to change me? I haven't got that much money or been this famous. I have no idea. And a mentor of mine, his name was Rudy, played for the Chiefs, offensive lineman. He said that money is just a magnifier. It doesn't change you. It just exposes who you already are. So if you were a giver, like, it's actually going to help you to give more, right? If you're a sharer, you can help share more. And so just to take that fear away of, will this new contract or this money change me? It's not going to change you. It's just going to magnify. Number one. Number two, knowing that giving up unlocks the grips of greed. And the last piece that I think about is the fact of sometimes, like, I've heard it said that real wealth is what people don't see. Like you pull up in the parking lot, you see the Aston Martins, the Maseratis, whatever it is. Like, okay, they're wealthy, but go look at what Mark Zuckerberg is wearing, right? Go look at what Jeff Bezos is wearing. Even look at Bill Gates, how he's actually trying to give all of his money away. Like 90%, maybe it's 99%. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. A large percentage of his wealth away. And we're thinking, oh, that's just Bill Gates. He's got all this money. It's like, well, we do too. So I'm not saying give it all away, but I am saying that it doesn't have to always be, let me buy the next or the newest all the time. Now, if there's something you care about, boom, go for it, right? You've worked hard. You can afford it, all of it. But also, if you want to receive that real joy, sometimes giving is a way to do it.
So understanding what your priorities are and the ability from knowing your priorities, yes from no, understanding what enough is for you individually and your family, and then being able to take what you do have and be able to pour it out into others will actually bring joy. And I guess the last more practical question, Professor, is you hear a lot of advisors say things like, just spend less than you make. Practically, close us out with that.
Yeah. I hate the term. I think we all hate the term. When you just say spend less than you make, it doesn't really mean anything, right? But what they're trying to say is you make $1 million, right? You're going to get taxed at about 40%. So you really make about $600,000, and it's saying make sure you're spending less than $600,000 a year, right? That's not the whole picture. We know that's not the whole picture. Right? We're going to get into it in future episodes on what the whole picture really is. But that's what they say by spend less than you make. It's just about not spending more than the tax bill coming up where you got to take out credit card debt to pay your tax bill, right? But there's so many more layers to that, and actually saving money and giving it, like Sam is saying, for future generations is what you really want to accomplish.
Money is just a tool. You can use it to buy the things that you want and you desire, right? You have needs that you got to pay. You have wants that you want to get. You got wishes that you dream for. Once you have those priorities in place, then you begin to understand what it is that you do have, that it's enough, as Zach talked about, and that's so much enough that you begin to bless the other people around you. Listen, as we talk about the cash flow game, you clearly have had questions that have come up. And so we'd love to hear your questions. You can reach out to us at 602-989-5022.